Good afternoon and welcome to the FEMA Region 2 Individual and Community Preparedness Webinar Series. My name is Anastasia Powell and I'm a Regional Preparedness Liaison for FEMA Region 2. I'm going to provide a few technical considerations before we begin. Today's proceedings are being recorded and captioned. You should hear audio through your computer speakers, so please ensure your volume is turned up so you can hear the proceedings accordingly. You can enable closed captioning by clicking the CC button in the top menu of the screen and click Show Captions. You can export the captions by clicking Export. In the top right corner, we ask if you'd like to receive news updates from Region 2. If so, please enter your email address and we'll be sure to add you to our distribution list. In order to be considerate and respectful to everyone attending and presenting today, all attendees are muted. We ask that all participants keep the chat dialogue on topic and courteous to ensure everyone has a positive learning experience. Please make sure your username is respectful and appropriate. Please see instructions on how to change your username in the pod to the left of the poll question or Q&A pod. We will have a question and answer session after the presentation concludes. You'll see a Q&A pod in the lower right-hand corner. Please feel free to submit your questions about the subject matter there, and time permitting, we'll do our best to answer them. Below the chat box and below the slide deck, we have poll questions. Please take a moment to answer them before the presentation begins. Finally, the PowerPoint presentation from today will be available for you to download in the file share pod as a PDF. You can click on the file and download it using the download button. With that, I'd like to turn it over to the FEMA Region 2 Community Preparedness Officer from the National Preparedness Division to introduce our speaker and today's proceedings.
Thanks, Stacy. Good afternoon. I'm Debbie Costa, the Community Preparedness Officer for FEMA Region 2. FEMA's mission for the past 40 years has been to help people before, during, and after disaster. And one of the ways that FEMA has done that is to build a culture of preparedness. At the heart of a culture of preparedness is the understanding that it takes all part of society to protect the most vulnerable, and that everyone from elected officials to an average American family has a role to play. Whether it's wearing a mask and getting vaccinated, getting connected to your community alert system, or today's topic, preparedness is a team sport and it takes all of us to reduce the impact of these hazards and risks. Community-based organizations and small businesses that are unable to sustain operations during an emergency incident exponentially impact individuals and the community who rely on them. Today's webinar is a collaboration of the individual and community preparedness teams from FEMA headquarters and Region 2 for a webinar on the open training or organizations preparing for emergency needs to help keep your organization open before, during, and after disasters. Our speaker today is Ms. Chi Zhang. She is a member of FEMA's Individual and Community Preparedness Division at headquarters in D.C. She leads the capacity building portfolio, which focuses on helping communities become more resilient before disasters by addressing the planning needs to start their recovery. Prior to joining the ICPD team, she served as the Strategic Communications Lead for FEMA's Individual Assistance Division, where she liaised and collaborated with internal and external partners to ensure survivors have the most accurate and effective disaster assistance information. With that, I'd like to turn the mic over to Chi to get us started today. Chi, welcome.
Thank you so much, Debbie. Can I get a quick sound check, please, just to make sure everything is working properly?
All good.
Great, thank you. Well, hello everyone, and thank you so much for joining me today. I hope everyone is having a productive and calm start to the new year so far. Again, my name is Chi Zhang. I work at the FEMA headquarters within the Individual and Community Preparedness Division. Yes, that is a mouthful. So I will call it ICPD moving forward. That's the office where I'm from. I lead the capacity building portfolio, which is a collection of programs and publications geared towards helping individuals, small businesses, and a variety of organizations prepare for disasters. Today I'll be talking about our open training, or organizations preparing for emergency needs. So for anyone who has seen open before April of 2022, you are in for what is, I hope, a pleasant surprise because we've made tons of updates to the program and our website. So that's what my presentation is going to be really focused on today. All right. When individuals and families are in need, especially during a disaster, they turn to organizations within their communities. And those organizations comprised of faith-based organizations, community-based organizations, small local businesses, or other nonprofit, non-governmental, or charitable organizations. These include shelters, soup kitchens, child and senior care facilities, etc. Most consider these organizations a trusted voice and resource within the community. However, as we all know, disruptions can cause small businesses and local organizations to close their doors to the community, especially after a major event. When they're unable to continue their operations, the impact on the people who rely on these organizations can be enormous. So that's why equipping these types of organizations with the resources they need is important, as they are such a vital part of the community. This is why ICPD is invested in working with organizations like you. For those of you who are working in emergency management already, you are our force multipliers, getting this information out there to as many organizations and as many individuals as possible. So equipping organizations with the resources they need is very important since they're such a vital part of the community. Recent data on small business shows that we need to get more tools and resources out there so disasters don't impact an organization's operations as harshly. Preparedness leads to resilience, and the more resilient these organizations are, the stronger communities become. The purpose of open training is to help these organizations begin preparing their operations before a disaster. We're committed to training as many organizations as possible on preparedness actions that will help them stay open. See what I did there? During emergencies. Open training helps you and your staff identify disaster risks within your community. Consider this course a precursor to a continuity of operations or COOP strategy. For those of you who already work in EM or emergency management, you've probably heard of the term COOP. Preparing for disasters can be an overwhelming task for anyone, but especially for organizations where there's more than just getting a go bag together or an evacuation plan to consider. This course helps identify the gaps an organization has in disaster response and provides an extra boost for identifying those additional tools and resources. Most importantly, open training breaks preparedness down into 10 very simple actions by simplifying the enormous concept of preparing into small, manageable steps an organization can use to start its preparedness journey and at its own pace. These preparedness actions build upon 3 themes: understanding your environment, which business essentials, and implementing your plan. So the 3 preparedness actions that help you understand your environment are understanding your risk, mitigating risk, and identifying the people you serve. Next, to cover your business essentials, an organization would need to determine essential activities or functions, consider the supply chain, and safeguarding critical information. Finally, implementing your plan would be to establish a communications plan, cross-train key individuals, formalize plans, and then regularly test and updating your plans. Open training is free, but it will require an investment of time. As we all know, all good things require a time investment. After today's presentation, we hope you and your organization will commit to getting started or commit to helping us get the word out there. Whether you spend some time exploring our website, take the online training, download the resources, or use the instructor materials to teach open and or promote open to your networks, you can't go wrong. You are investing in the future of your organization and your community. So open was developed with the understanding that organizations are incredibly busy and depend on volunteers along with very few staff members to maintain operations. Open training breaks down preparedness into 10 simple actions, and the training is a low time commitment. So that the training is a low time commitment. The web-based version takes about 60 minutes to complete. The instructor-led course can be tailored to fit any specific training needs and desired course length. It is easy to implement. Instructors can download the guide and presentation slides to lead a group training or a web-based self-guided version if in-person instruction is not available. And it is scalable and no cost. The training simplifies preparedness into small, manageable steps that can be taken at any pace and is available free of charge. So what we like to call it is see one, do one, teach one. I don't know if anyone here are Grey's Anatomy fans, but that's how they train surgeons. So you see the training yourself, you take the online training, you do one, you download some of the resources to get started, and then you teach open to others in your organization or within your network. So here, I'm actually going to give you a walkthrough of our updated website so that you can see exactly what open is comprised of. All of our resources are available free online in both English and Spanish. So rather than show you the slides, I will actually share my screen. Can we get that? There we go. Alrighty.
We can
All
see
right.
it. You're good to go, Chief.
Perfect. So when you visit www.ready.gov/open-training, it will actually link you to our community.fema.gov page, and this is where open sits. The web page is newly redesigned, and at the very top here, you have a little carousel that kind of explains how to use the program with these cute little animated.
Hey, can you just repeat that web address?
Sure. I will type it in the chat box, and you'll be able to see it at the end of the site. Yep. I have the link ready for everyone, so just give me 1 second and let me go through this real quick. So basically, we have 5 simple steps. Start your journey by learning about open training. So when you visit our site, you're already learning about it. Then step 2, take the training, download the student resources, and get your certificate. This is not a FEMA certification program. You do get a certificate saying that you have taken open, but what you really get out of taking this course is the resources and the skills you need to get started with getting prepared. Then step 3 is to download the instructor materials to teach others about open. Step 4, promote the training, we have promotional toolkit and flyers available for download. So if you want to share this with your staff or with your networks, all of this is available. And then you can host your own training and teach others about open. Why do step 5? I know that's a good question. Why not stop at just we take this course and we learn it on our own? Well, step 5, this gives you an opportunity for outreach, for engagement with your networks. Wouldn't it be great if you are, I'm going to use my favorite example because I'm a pet person, an animal person. I love pet shelters. So I am a small pet shelter that just opened up. Well, I need to know who I am working with, who else is in my community. Let me reach out to other pet shelters. I can offer them this free training, and then maybe we can share and pool resources, or at least share best practices and help each other out with important information about our community. So what you see here is a tabular organization of the website. You have 4 tabs across the top here. We have the Learn More tab. And Learn More really is a quick blurb about each of the preparedness actions. Our site is currently being updated as well. Right now you see links to short animations for 3 of these preparedness actions. By the end of next week, you will be able to see all 10. On top of that, all of this will be available in Spanish translation as well. So then we go to the Take the Web-Based Training. Up here you'll see a preferred language. If your preferred language is English, you don't need to do anything here. But if it is Spanish, you can always change it to Spanish, and everything on the page will turn to Spanish. Because I don't speak Spanish, I'm going to go ahead and show you the English site, but then I will go back and show you the Spanish capabilities. This is the video for the online training. All you have to do is press play. And after, you can click on this button here to get your certificate. And before you receive a training certificate, we would love to hear from you. How do we improve our website? How did I know what to add to this site? How did I know what resources to add over the past year or 2? Well, it's all from feedback. So if I don't know what to add or what is missing, then I don't know how to improve this program. So your feedback is very important. It is a few short questions. Most of them are drop-down selection. But you can always skip the survey and get your certificate just by putting in your name. I will skip that part, but I will go back and show you that if you take the Spanish drop-down, the page will reload, and this entire tab, all of this information, including the training and even the survey, I'll turn to Spanish. So for all Spanish users and folks who work in Spanish communities, this is a great resource. All right. I hear somebody say that there are echoes. Is my sound still okay?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So this is the fun stuff. We developed these resources over the past year. So if you saw Open in 2020 or 2021, we did not have these resources. One is a open resource sheet. This resource sheet provides all the links that is provided in the training. So you don't have to click on the links while you're taking the training. You can come over here and download this resource sheet afterwards. And I will show you what it looks like. It breaks it down to the 10 preparedness actions, and then all of the links provided in that chapter of the training are all here with short descriptions. Then we have a preparedness resource sheet, and this is my personal favorite, and I hope you'll get really excited about this one. This resource sheet gives a little bit more information about federal assistance. So we have FEMA planning tools, additional information about our other planning resources, and FEMA assistance programs. I don't know if you've heard of a little thing called public assistance or individual assistance, but this will point you to the parts of the program and policy guide that are specific to nonprofits. The other thing is individual assistance. It shows you a little bit about where to get your individual assistance information, but the important part is the sequence of assistance delivery. So as you can see, after a major disaster, FEMA is not your first place to go. It's actually your voluntary agency and mass care and your insurance. So this actually breaks down the sequence of how assistance is delivered. And then, of course, we have a list of other federal resources that you might find useful. Resources from the CDC, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, grants.gov, bloodsmart.gov, Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, and the U.S. SBA, Small Business Administration. So like I said, this training is a precursor to COOP, right? So our goal really is to provide as many resources as possible in very easy to locate sources. So that's why we created these little documents, and you can download and save or print out, and it will be easy for you to access. The last one is a preparedness actions checklist, and this is really the plan, which, one second, it's not loading. There we go. And it's a fillable PDF that goes over the 10 preparedness actions, what happens within each of our actions, and then when did you complete it? And you have a place for notes. So this is basically the beginnings of a plan for any organization, right? And this actually has all of the preparedness actions from the training course itself. I'm scrolling through this very quickly, but I know you'll be able to go back and take a look later on as well. All right, and you'll see that all three of these resources are available in Spanish as well. Okay, then we have the download instructor materials. Same as before, we have a language option here. I'll go to English. We have a little survey just for us to understand who is using our training, how many students, what type of organization you are, but you can always skip the survey. And if you do that, you'll get to the materials download. The instructor guide provides the instructor notes, how to set up your classroom, talking points, and then, of course, the presentation deck is the training course itself. You'll be able to follow along with your instructor guide. Both of these are available in English and Spanish. We have a promotional toolkit, which is available in English and Spanish as well. A training flyer. You don't even have to create your own email. You can download this fillable PDF and use this flyer. And of course, the animations that are linked previously, and then the graphics that you can to promote the training. So all of these materials are here. They're all free to download and use as much as possible. All right. So let me go back to the slides. How do I stop sharing? There we go. So again, you'll have these slides after this webinar today, but I already provided you a little walkthrough of our website on my screen. So this information you can always come back to later on. All right. So now let's do a little sample activity from Open Training. If you have never seen Open before, this is great. You'll be able to see one of our little activities that we do for our instructor-led training. Okay. So just looking at this map here. Take a look at this map. We already have the hurricane or typhoon laid out. Do you know where you live, right? Do you know which state you are, and do you know which hazards happen in your state? Do you know all of that? Let's see if you are right. I'll give you a minute or so to just type in the screen your state and then the hazards. So for example, I will type in here, I am in Virginia, and I know that I have hurricanes because this is already given to me. Winter weather, and I think we get some flooding. So in the chat box. All right, somebody else is from Northern Virginia. Awesome. See, we have Oregon, wildfires, earthquakes, flooding, winter weather. Okay. New Jersey hurricane and flooding. New York City, floods, high winds. New Mexico, wildfire, flash flooding, winter weather, flatline winds. Northern Arizona, we have flooding and fires. California, floods, fires, earthquakes, riots, heavy winds, storms. New Jersey blizzards. All right. Occasional tornadoes. Northern Virginia, I missed that one. Oklahoma, tornadoes, grass fires, California, floods, fires, earthquakes. All right, awesome. It looks like everyone knows the hazards, so just double check your work to see if you are correct. All right. We've got fires, wild or urban. These are mostly on in the western states. And here's the rest of them. Okay, just in the interest of time, we're not going to go through each individual, but it looks like, haha, I got you all. Pandemic, that is the one that no one wrote down. But pandemic is also a very new disaster, right? And that affects every state, every region, every country. We have the flooding, the tornado, the earthquake, and pandemic. All right. How did we do? How did everyone do? Pretty good? Yes, extreme heat. So it's not perfect. We are actually, that brings me to a good point. Open really is focused on mostly natural disasters, man-made being pandemic, but we do also, not man-made, sorry about that, power outages. But all of those disasters we can always prepare for using very simple steps. And it doesn't really matter which disaster it is, right? We can always prepare for the disasters using very simple steps, starting from just knowing what disasters you have in your area. I know that it's nearly impossible to prepare for everything, but if you have a baseline to start with, then you can always build upon it as you have additional information. All right, so let's open the conversation. I know most of you who are on this call right now are emergency managers and you work with your state and local emergency management office. So I will assume that your office is confident that you'll stay open during a disaster. However, how do you feel about your community? Are you confident that all the small businesses and organizations and faith-based organizations in your community are confident in staying open? Any thoughts on that?
Use the chat to type in your thoughts. So Chi, just to reiterate, the question is, as an emergency manager, how could you use the open training?
My question, actually, I changed the question a little bit from the slide. My question is, if you are currently working in emergency management, how confident do you feel about the organizations in your community in their preparedness and using open? Or if you are currently in a small organization, do you feel confident that you can stay open?
I see some people have answered your question in the chat.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's see. So yes, I know that a lot of efforts to survey or to work with smaller organizations or to provide training, having these in-person events, these preparedness events, a lot of that got tabled during COVID. I've definitely seen that firsthand, and I know that there is a concern that smaller organizations or small businesses in your local areas are not ready for any disasters. Or they are, maybe we have not done enough outreach. Or you're lucky and you live in an area with no disasters. Where are you, Carolyn? And how do I live there? See, some are ready. Well, some are very ready and confident. And there's those who are actively promoting training. in their communities. Very confident, very good. Some already have business continuity plans and practice it twice a year. That is fantastic. So our responses run the gamut, right? From what I'm seeing, we go from not confident to very confident, not prepared to we're prepared and we practice all the time, right? So for those of you who are prepared and practice all the time, wonderful, keep doing it. And for those who have not done their outreach, who are not very confident, who have not began preparing, share these resources. Use these resources. This is just a start. Is this a full continuity of operations plan? No, it's not. Is this a full business continuity plan? No, it's not. It is a beginning. It is just to get your feet wet, just to see, okay, I don't know anything right now. What am I missing? How do I get started? Where do I go next? So that's what OPEN is really used for. I see a really nice comment here. I feel that success is dependent upon cross-training and developing a response that builds into planning for the potential for periodic interruption in communications. Yes. Cross-training, that's one of our preparedness actions. Training staff. Is there only one person in your staff who knows how to take inventory? Ooh, if that's the case, should you perhaps have additional staff members know how, or at least know where to get the manual, know where the documentation lies, right? So these are all beginnings of your preparedness emergency plan. So I see that there are some who already provide training and others who do not have any training. Well, if you don't have any training that you provide, could you potentially use this course or use some of the resources? Absolutely. So there are some folks who are saying that they have worked during COVID for the vaccinations. So some are more engaged with these emergency management and emergency preparedness efforts. Some are not, and that's okay. No matter where you are, this program should provide a useful resource for you. All right. So let's review. OPEN is for the community. It is for faith-based organizations, small community-based organizations like soup kitchens and pet shelters, local businesses, and other nonprofit, non-governmental charitable organizations. You can use this QR code to visit our website. There is the web-based self-training, self-guided training, and the downloadable instructor kit, a promotional toolkit and graphics to help promote the training, and additional resources to get started. So if you want to, later on, once this slide deck is available, there's actually a FEMA blog story about how one of our partners used OPEN, giving you a quick preview. I don't know if anyone has heard of Child Care Aware of America. They work with child care referral and resource and referral agencies. They found OPEN, they found us, and they created a toolkit for their CCR&Rs, child care resource and referral organizations. To get started, they have checklists That's where we got our checklist idea from. They have additional resources and training and how-to guides, and they built that into their learning management system. So do you have to go as far as building an entire learning management system? Absolutely not. How do you use this? You can use any of our resources in any way that you see fit for your audience. All right. So that actually takes me to the end of my presentation. Do we have any questions?
Hi, Chi. Thanks so much. I appreciate you going through all of that for us. Great program. So just to reiterate, this could be an individual business who could take the training and use it for themselves. It could be a chamber of commerce who wants to maybe take the training and share it with small businesses in their community. An individual church or an individual temple, mosque can do it, or if they're part of a larger congregation, to share it with others, and the same with community-based organizations. So you could be as large as the American Red Cross and want to share it with all your local offices, or as small as, I don't know, Bricktown Hands Helping America, and just use it for your own organization. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. And I do see some questions here. I'll start with Marjorie's question.
I'll go through the questions with you.
Sure. Okay.
So how would a faith-based organization use open? Could you give us an example?
Sure. So if you are well, it depends on the size of your organization, right, or your faith-based organization. I'm thinking the mega churches with thousands and thousands of people within that community, they probably already have an emergency management plan. Well, maybe they can test their plan against these 10 preparedness steps and make sure that they're not missing anything, right? Or a small congregation that has just come up or just got started, well, you can use the preparedness checklist to start your emergency plan. Does that answer the question?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect.
Does the curriculum need to be taught its entirety? And if so, what would the typical time frame be for doing that? So not for taking the online training, but actually sharing it with others within your organization or similar organizations.
Sure. So if you want to teach this course, to teach it in its entirety takes about 90 minutes. That is a long time. And if you're not comfortable with teaching, that can be daunting. Download the materials, take a look. Maybe you only teach a couple of the preparedness actions at once. Maybe you do half in one session, half in another session. Maybe you do 3 preparedness actions, the ones that fall under the understanding your environment theme, right? You only do those 3, and then you pause, and then you can come back and take the next step or the next theme. So you can actually tailor this course to however you see fit.
Thank you. You actually answered my next question as well. Are there any tips for teaching it? I know we do some tabletop exercises at the region, and we put together a facilitator guide, basically making eye contact and, like you yourself said, you like to get that feedback, by observing the audience's posture and facial expressions. Are there any tips that you could share or that exist on the open website for teaching open?
Absolutely. Yes, so the instructor guide includes all of that information. Recommended supplies, scheduling, how to schedule your training, right? frequently asked questions, supplemental and multimedia resources, instructional notes and guidelines, talking points, how to maybe talk about one particular topic, right? How to get the conversation started. All of that is in the instructor guide.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. So I took the open training, love it, but I'm ready to do more. So what would be the next step for me?
For those who have already taken open training, take a look at the resources. Take a look at the preparedness resource sheet, and that has additional planning and continuity of operations training courses that you can take, and additional resources that you can take a look at.
So that's on the website also? Is that linked in the PowerPoint?
Yes, so it is on the website. The website is one whole website as you saw, but under the Access More Resources tab.
Gotcha.
All of the resources are on there. Mm-hmm.
Does FEMA plan to make these materials in any other languages?
At the moment, there is no plan. We're actually still working on getting a full dual language option right now, as in Spanish and English. Not all of the resources are currently in Spanish and English, but we are working on it. So additional languages, we never say never, but it is not in our current plan.
Okay, thank you. I don't see any more questions at the moment. I do see a good suggestion in the chat, using open after a recent disaster. It does appear that people are, in fact, most receptive to preparedness, unfortunately, after they've been impacted by a disaster. And I also want to see...
Sorry to cut you off. I see a really good question. Once you present, do you need to report that to FEMA? No, you do not. This is built as a resource for you. If you answer the download instructor materials survey, that gives us a sense of who is teaching, how many people are being taught, but no, there's no reporting afterwards required.
Okay, good. Thank you. And Stacy did just put the link in the chat. And there's also a 2-question poll up on the screen. We'd like to get some feedback from our audience, if you wouldn't mind. Do you plan to explore the open website after having heard about it on this webinar? And do you plan to use the resources that were shared today? So we're always looking for ways to capture, you know, are we giving our stakeholders what they're looking for? And does it prompt everyone to action? The other thing I wanted to point out is, you know, we keep talking about disasters, and a lot of what we talked about was natural hazards, you know. So I'm in New Jersey, so I could be impacted by hurricanes or northeasters, flooding. But it's not just about natural hazards. You know, it could be a very local disaster. Even if your town is only 3 miles, right? There could be a train derailment. There could be a water main break. There could be a power outage. All of those things are disasters to you or to your organization if they impact you or prevent you from performing your essential functions, right? So if your job is to go out and feed the elderly in a particular town, and there's a water main break, and that community is cut off, you know, from everyone else, or maybe your power has been cut off, or there's a fuel shortage, it's still a disaster to you. It's a very local, isolated disaster, but it's still a disaster, in which case, having gone through a lot of the items in the open training and on the checklist would help you just as well as if it had been a statewide flooding or something else. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Chi.
No, I think you got it all. You know, the whole point is to creating this training is that it is scalable. right? You can use it in a very small, local, just specific to your organization, or you can, if you're a larger organization, you can work with many different types of organizations and using the resources and tailoring the training to your needs. The preparedness actions, the great thing about them is that they are not specific to any disaster, right? Is there really a huge difference in terms of, for example, one of the preparedness actions is safeguarding your critical information, right? That includes your budgets, your staff information, all of that. So does it really matter if it's a wildfire or if it is a hurricane, right? If something bad is going to happen, shouldn't that step be completed anyways, regardless of the disaster? Yes, right? So that's why this program, it seems very simple. For those of you who currently work in emergency management, it probably seems very easy. But for small organizations or small businesses that are new, this provides a lot of very good information to get started with.
It does, and I often sell it, talk to people as a precursor to COOP or COOP 101 because, like many things, right, with the federal government, it's to try and take continuity training can be a little bit involved. It could be a large time commitment. The program is very federalized. There's a lot of language in there, and open really just takes it to a level that anybody could understand. If I'm running, a 6-person operation or a 100-person operation, I think the terminology and the concept of, having a plan, having a communication plan is a lot simpler than maybe reading COOP and trying to figure out, well, what does devolution mean? What is reconstitution? Are we adding water to something here? So I really think it's a great program for everyone. Yeah. Chia, that's all the questions we have for you today. We did change the view on the screen. We would like our audience to take a moment to fill out those 6 questions. Chia, I don't know if you saw it in the chat, but everybody said this is, great information and thank you and great presentation. So kudos to you. We do have 3 webinars coming up, and I thank you all for continuing to join us on our webinars. The FEMA Assistance to Firefighters Grant Program, that NOFO, was just announced. So we will be hosting some folks from the Region 2 Grants Division to talk about that program a little bit. So if you're a volunteer fireman or you know someone who is, or a firehouse that can use some new equipment, that's a good program to get information on. We'll have a short lunch and learn on February 1st, just about scams that target our older Americans. And then we will have a program specifically for CERT volunteers. This is one of the best of trainings that were provided at the 2022 National CERT Association Conference, Be Prepared to Improvise, on February 7th. So I hope to see some of you back on our upcoming webinars. If you'd like to check out all the webinars we have scheduled, you could click on the first link here. If you'd like to hear today's webinar, which has been recorded, or any of our past webinars, you could click on the second link. And if you don't already receive Region 2 news and you'd like to subscribe, we're always open to feedback. So if you'd like to give us suggestions for a future webinar or a way that we could possibly improve what we're doing, feel free to email us at FEMA-R2-prepares. And with that, I would say thank you all for joining us, and I'm giving everyone back 6 minutes of their day. Have a beautiful day. Stay warm.